Okay, so in the last video, I kind of played around a little bit and finally got to the stage where I had this outline of a cat. I'm going to make this into a bookmark. Basically, in this video, I'm going to add on a feature below this, which will effectively go into the page of the book. I'm going to laser cut it. And then show you the results, okay? And then we can kind of reflect on where we go from there. So I'm going to do something very, very simple here. I'm going to come to the Shapes tool. Now, if I hold the mouse button down here, you can see I've got a whole bunch of shapes available. I'm just going to go with a horizontal rectangle, and I'm thinking here of just doing a block that's going to go down into the page. Something like that. Again, I'm not worried too much here about dimensions. I'm just trying things out. Now, at this point in time, if I send this to the laser cutter, the way we have the laser cutter configured, nothing will happen because black lines, in our case, are ignored by the laser cutter. We need to change the color of the lines to tell the laser cutter how strong the beam should be and how fast the beam carriage, and hence the beam should move. Basically, we have two key settings here. First is engrave and the second is cut. So engrave means it's going to be a low beam power at a fast speed, and that simply is going to sort of burn just the surface of the material. So if I do this in card, it's effectively going to be like writing on the card. It's going to burn the top surface of the card. The second setting, cut, is where we have a high beam strength and we have a low feed speed. So the beam is going to start to cut through the material more successfully, and because we're moving the beam more slowly, we're going to get a really clean cut all the way through the material, and it's going to cut things out. So I'm going to go with a cut, and to do that, I'm going to do, well, first of all, let's just look at this. I'm going to select both the cat and the rectangle, and I'm going to change the line color of both to blue, and it's the blue down here. Now, why is that the case? Well, it's because these colors here define the beam strength. So black is do nothing. Red is going to be like a light engrave. We do have green as a dark engrave. We very, very rarely use it. Normally we just have the one engrave feature, and then blue is cut all the way through. We could have brown, orange, pink, and this kind of purple color, deep purple, to do other things on the laser cutter. But as a rule of thumb, we don't. We just work with these first colors here. So I'm going to put this as blue for cut. And let's just see what would happen there. If I cut this, then what I would get, and I'm going to come to the draw a close contour tool here, graphical path, 0. What I'm going to get is 3 things cut. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, we're going to see that happen. Let's move that to the side there. What I'm now going to do is put that line color there back to black. And now I'm going to come to this contour tool again. I'm going to do a graphical contour. Let's just put a 5mm spacing here and see what happens. Look, that's going to do a contour around the design, spaced out exactly 5mm all the way around. So basically, I've got like a cat that's eaten too much. Instead, let's just move that down there. Move that to the left, actually. Instead, what I want is a contour which is going to be 0mm. Click on the outside, not the inside. If I do the inside, something else will happen. Yeah, if I do the inside, I get that. If I do the outside, aha, come on, I get that. Okay, and now with this, I'm going to make that blue. Okay, so let's just make this blue again. So remember, this was just making all the lines blue, and this is using the contour tool to do an outline external to this design and then making it blue to cut. And what I'm expecting to happen, zoom out there with a wheel mouse, is that this design here will create this, and this design here, Control-C, Control-V, will make that. Okay, as a physical piece of card. In fact, let's take those right now. Let's come to Fill, Texture, Load Texture. Have I got Card, Brick, Crate, Box and Crate? No, not really what I want. I'm wasting time now. I don't know. There's no paper. There's no paper. So sad. Miscellaneous. Alien? Alien wall? What on earth? What on earth? I don't know. I'm fiber. Okay, let's just go with long blonde hair. Dry brush. I don't know. That's going to have to be it, okay? There. That looks like cards, sort of, doesn't it? Okay, one's going to be what I really want, and the other one's going to be like hacked into pieces. Okay, let's pause here. I'm going to laser cut and we'll see what comes out. Oh, I forgot to mention, I've not laser cut yet. Forgot to mention, don't forget you got to save this. In fact, save it straight as soon as you start, and then save it as a regular basis as version numbers. I'm gonna save this now with you. You can forward through this if you know what you're doing, but I'm going to save it to a very specific location. I want to go to Google Drive file stream, shared drives, not student temporary. Having said that, you need to put it to student temporary. If you go to student temporary, select your year group, and then save it in there with your file name and a version number. That'll be great. I'm going to go to student resources. I'm going to go to tutorials, 2D design, Mr. Shaw's examples. Let's make a new folder. Let's call this bookmark. Okay, and I'm going to call this bookmark. I'm going to call this cat bookmark version 1. When you do this, please put your name first, okay? First name first, and then what you want to call it, and then a version number. That I know it's your work, and the version number helps you remember which is the latest one you're working on. Okay, I'm going to save that. I'm going to pick that up at the laser cutter, and I'll try again, and I'll be back with the laser cut parts to explore. Okay, so laser cut job done, and this is what we have. In fact, let's just put this to the side here like that. Okay, so we can see exactly what we've got. So this is what we laser cut out, and what you can see here, let's move it a bit to the side there, is the A3 paper. Notice that I used a piece of scrap. This was cut from a previous job. And I said that, this part here would be cut into lots of little pieces by the laser cutter, and that is exactly what happened. So can I just peel this away? Come on. There you go. Okay, you can see that there, and obviously that's not what we want. What we want is just the outline of the cat cut out, and that is the one. Now, if I just find a book, let's have a look. Here's a book, a very interesting book. And I think to myself, well, is this bookmark the right size? Well, let's have a see. Is it going to work? Well, yeah, actually, that works quite well. Obviously, I don't want it in card. This is just thin card I'm working with here, 250-gram card. So it's about 3 times thicker than normal photocopy paper. It is a little bit on the big side. I do feel as if it should be a little bit smaller. And I'm a bit worried here about how fragile the tail is, particularly if I make this smaller. So that's something I might have to think about. And also as well, it's difficult to determine how far this goes down into the actual book. I could have it so that, this could actually kind of go down like this and just be a little cat's head peeking out. Actually, that I love that. That's a really kind of a nice, cute feature of this design. The fact I can have different amounts of cat. Just move that to the side there, kind of just peeking out of the book there. That's really, really interesting. Okay, and then of course I can have the whole cat sticking out like it's sitting on the book, but that's a really interesting feature. Perhaps needs exploring further. Okay, but that's basically my initial prototype done. Now, this video is now finished. What I'm going to do, well, you're in a situation now where you could now go away and experiment with what you've learnt and try different things out. I would strongly advise you to think about the size of this and think about scaling your design, and that's something I'm going to do in my next video. And I'm going to look at a different design, a more, I'm trying to think of the right phrase here, a cat that is as a little bit more of an interpretation. Okay, I struggle with words, of what a cat should potentially look like. Anyway, I'm going to pause now before I make any more foolish blunders. Hopefully see you in the next video.